Pamela Norris. She, her, and hers. I'm happy to be here this morning with all of you, some in person and some virtually. We have a few slides here this morning to try to communicate what full capacity is going to look like in the Student Center this fall as we reunite our staffs, some of which have been working every day since COVID began, and some of which have been working every day from their homes or some remote place, as well as welcoming back all of our students onto campus. And so we have a number of folks here on the call from our LSC leadership team that are going to share some information, but the likelihood is that there's many of you that have additional information as well. And so I would really welcome you to use the chat feature if you'd like to be able to share information that you've heard or questions that you have, or if you're willing to unmute and talk with us about what you know, that would be helpful too. We'll try to get as much info out in this session as possible. As Emily will show you on the next slide, just want to make sure, I know we've been doing this for a long time, but not everyone is as familiar as others in Zoom. And so just want to be really thoughtful about the platform. As you'll see on the bottom row, to unmute yourself, you click that little microphone button. To turn on your camera or turn off your camera, you're using the video. You'll see the participants. You can certainly visually see all of them. If you pop the pictures onto the screen, you can also see them by name. The chat feature, you can direct message folks as well as communicate with everyone. And sometimes folks like to use the reaction button, which is a thumbs up or raise your hand feature. We'll try to keep things relatively comfortable this morning. Feel free to, you don't have to save your questions to the end. Just pop in and let us know if you've got something to share. And on the next slide, just wanted to, whoops, you got it in? Okay.
Yeah, I also just wanted to mention before we go on that there are closed captionings also for folks. So you can just pop that button at the bottom toolbar and rev.com is providing. Thanks.
Thank you for that reminder. This is part of the LSC Shape series. Want to thank Emily and her crew for putting together yet another fantastic Shape the Trainer sessions this summer. And as always in our training series, we center the principles of community, realizing that each member of our community is responsible for upholding these principles when we engage one another, and we're acting on behalf of the university. So please keep inclusion, integrity, respect, service, and social justice in mind during our conversation today, as well as throughout the Shape the Trainer workshops. And we'll go on to this first slide. So one of the things that we wanted to frame as an LSC leadership team was the concept of having a familiar and vibrant CSU experience, and what on earth that is going to look like in the Student Center this fall. So on the right-hand side, you'll be reminded of what our mission is here in the Student Center. And we're trying to keep that in mind, as well as the safety, security, and this familiar and vibrant CSU experience in mind. So we have a couple of opening questions here to assist our leadership in sharing information. I'll go ahead and ask Jason Rogan from the Event Planning Office to get us kicked off, Rogan, with how are we going to continue to meet our mission as we reunite staff and welcome students back to campus this fall?
Thank you, Pamela.
Oh, I think, Rogan, you remuted yourself.
There we go. I'm not used to having someone help me. It's nice. So yeah, I'll give a quick overview of kind of what we're expecting. We have everything we're doing at the Student Center is in conjunction with the pandemic team. I've been meeting weekly or bi-weekly with someone from the pandemic team. Really for the last year, they come and walk through our building to ensure that we're maintaining a safe environment and meeting all the university standards. So anything you're seeing as we come out of some of the restrictions and guidelines, we're doing that in conjunction with the pandemic team. And so really already started within the building, you'll see furniture going back out. You'll see, the food court here in a couple weeks will start to get its furniture put back. As we approach that August 1st date of no longer having distancing required and allowing 100% capacity, you'll start to see the building look more like it typically would. If you remember what the building looked like, a year and a half ago. And so really the fall we're anticipating is going to look fairly normal. And what that means is all of the capacity will be back in the building, all of the furnishings will be back, all of our entry exits will return to being open and you won't have to run into locked doors. All of our services will be available. And I saw Benjamin on here. He could speak more a little bit too if anyone has questions about catering, but catering will be available. They may have some special unique things, but our staff would work with folks on that. Events are going to be back and available with full capacity. We will not have classes being held in the Student Center this fall. And so all of our meeting spaces and ballrooms are available for events. And if you need to book space, you should get those requests in because we are seeing kind of not quite the same level as typical, but we are seeing a lot of requests coming in for event spaces for fall. And so that's kind of how it's going to look. Now, a couple of caveats, we are, like I said, working with the pandemic team. There will still be some protocols we follow. We're going to keep our, if you've been in the building and seen the disinfecting stations, those are available both in some of the meeting spaces as well as throughout the building. And Nancy and her staff are keeping those stocked, and those will remain in place. Likely indefinitely. People like having the ability to wipe down a table. And so those will remain out there. The other thing we're seeing a lot of is there's obviously a desire for events to be hybrid and meetings to have a virtual component. Our tech services team through event planning has a lot of different options for folks. If you do want to have a meeting both in person and hybrid, so that allows, to bring in students and other attendees who either may not be located on campus or who still are choosing to not come to campus as much. We can still make sure we include everyone. And that's kind of everything for fall. Is there anything else, Pamela, you can think that I should add or?
Anything different about the Plaza area or anything outside?
Outside probably would see a quicker return to normal. The Plaza will be available for full amount of bookings as we typically do. As we all know, outdoors tends to be probably a little bit easier to have some distancing and less concerned with the airflow and the sun shining. So Plaza, we anticipate will be filled up with student organizations out there. I think that was one of the things people really missed over the last year. And I saw your question there, Mo. Some of the tech options do come with an additional cost, but we've also made sure to be able to offer a wide range of options, understanding that, you know, some groups might just want to be able to have a meeting and not have to spend any money. And so we do have options that range from basically a conference phone with a camera on it, all the way up to a full, you know, multiple camera webcast produced event. And so there are lots of options. We've purchased some new equipment. Anyone who's familiar with the OWL camera, we have a number of those available for meeting rooms, as well as I know some departments have gotten their own for their conference rooms. While I'm on that subject, just a quick mention. We've been using those cameras for a variety of meetings recently, and we've done a lot of testing with them. And I can share that they really are great if they're at a conference table for less than 12 people. As soon as you start to get bigger than that, the effectiveness of them starts to wear off. And so while you could certainly use it for 20 people around a square table set up in a meeting room, it's not going to work as well. And some of the people will probably be a little less able to hear. And so just keep that in mind, that they really are designed for a smaller meeting, or more for a presenter to present, and maybe not so much if you're not worried about the audience being seen or heard as much, then it can still be pretty effective. And like I said, we do have a number of those that we can use in meeting rooms here in the Student Center.
Cool. I'll keep my eye on the chat, Rogan. I know you will too, Mr. Multitasker, to be able to get people's questions answered. But let's go ahead and move over to Benjamin. Benjamin, would you be willing to share with folks kind of what's going on with food in the building, catering starting up, and any changes to be expected?
Yeah, can you hear me right now? I just had to switch devices.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, well, if you all don't know me, I'm Benjamin Rosing. I use pronouns he, him, his, and I'm the acting assistant director for catering here at the LSC. And I just want to start out saying how excited we are to reboot our catering operations here and start serving events again. Really excited to bring some employees back to help serve our campus community and events. I think it's been mentioned, and it's always worth mentioning again, that this is, with reopening, this is going to be a learning experience, and we may have to continue to adjust and change some of our practices and protocols here. But what that means, along with being open and ready to book catering, is that we'll continue to have some protocols in place with safety and enhanced safety in mind. Things like having touchless beverage dispensers, so something that you would use a cup to dispense a beverage rather than using the handle to pour your coffee or your lemonade or whatever. We'll continue to use attendant served buffets as appropriate. We'll always offer plated options for our events as well. All in an effort to minimize or eliminate shared contact surfaces, basically. And we'll continue to monitor how things are going and see how we can continue to adjust and take feedback from our guests and clients, and keep working with the pandemic preparedness team. But also, with some transparency in mind too, there is going to be some menu price adjustments. There's a lot of food cost increases that have happened over the last year and a half. So we need to meet that, as well as looking at, implementing some minimal charges for those additional attendants that are going to be needed depending on the event, the size of the event, and what's being served. So that's kind of a brief overview. Also trying to watch the chat here. Jason mentioned 6 chairs around tables for what would typically be 8 tops. seat fewer people. I can also touch base on Aspen Grill real quick. So we're going to use a similar model to last semester where we'll again split the classroom into 2 pods, keeping the individuals in those pods the same. So students will have a chance to be in the kitchen and prepare and cook food, while the other half is in the dining room serving and offering to-go meals as well. And then they'll switch. Regardless of any updates or changes to the public health guide, we'll continue to have all employees in the grill and in the catering kitchens wearing masks, distancing, increased hand washing, and again, eliminating shared contact surfaces in the kitchens and service areas. So that's kind of an overarching view of what we're looking at. We can all expect the much anticipated Ken Simsak's new menu for the semester. He's working on that right now. And we'll have some new options for catering as well coming out very soon.
Benjamin, do you have anything new information or about food vendors generally in the
Pamela,
building? I know
we can't
Jeff's.
hear you. Can other people hear Pamela?
I did.
Oh, it's just me then. Never mind. Keep on. I'll fix it
No,
on my end.
Jeff is on annual leave, but is there anything that you can share from the food vendor side that's new or will be changing?
So it looks like all of our business partners are going to be on board and open by mid-August, most likely by the start of the semester. As for some of our own retail operations, there's no definitive date that I know of. Things are going to sort of more slowly on board. So Ramskeller should be open by start of the semester, but potentially not. That's a wrap quite yet. And there's still some things to work out for 50/30. So nothing definitive right now, but obviously an effort to get everything reopened. And again, business partners will be on board and open.
Well, I know there's a few people who are wondering about the Ramskeller. I think we can all rest assured that it will be open, correct?
Yes, Pete is working diligently. They're about to shut down, and excuse me if they've already shut down, until they reopen for the beginning of the semester, just to get staff onboarded and trained, get menus set, and get some of the kinks worked out. I can presume there will be similar safety practices down there in the kitchen with masks and distancing, and really identifying some pods of employees there and keeping them in their separate pod. But
Awesome.
they'll be open.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that. Well, another area of the Student Center that's been open since the beginning is the bookstore. And we have Mr. John Perry here this morning. John, is there anything new or different that you wanted to share about the bookstore?
No, nothing new. We will resume our regular hours for fall. All operations are ongoing. Don't anticipate any changes.
Okay, good. Keeping us all open and safe since the beginning of COVID is Tamina's crew, the operations crew. So I do want to kick it over to Tamina. And Tamina, if you have things that you want to share, protocols that will be followed, any kinds of things that you want us to know as people are starting to venture back into the Student Center.
Yes, thank you, Pamela. Yeah, my name is Tamina Bebe. I'm the Director of Operations for Lory Student Center here. And I'm responsible for the maintenance and cleaning and projects and safety and security of the building here. And so regarding that, our staff have been here in the building for the last year and a half, as we're considered essential staff. So we've been doing it except we'll probably have to pivot a little bit here and reboot and to full staff as soon as August comes here. And so we're prepared to do that. So we will continue, I think Rogan mentioned this earlier, to continue to keep the hand sanitizing stations where they are, probably for a longer time here. And we might even make sure that we'll add some more to some other areas. The restrooms will continue to have hand towels, even if there is electric dryers already in the room, in the restrooms. In addition, we will do whatever it takes to make sure our building continues to be clean, presentable to our students and visitors, and comfortable as well. So I think if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. This is it, Pamela.
Awesome. Thank you,
you.
Tamina. Well, I know you all may be looking through your boxes and you see that someone is missing this morning, and that is our fearless leader, Dr. Mike Ellis. He is on leave and encouraging us to, when we do take leave, to actually be on leave. So he's in Mexico today helping his daughter move during what seems to be possibly a Category 1 hurricane heading in his direction. So we can all send some positive vibes to he and Maria. But on the line here is Donnie, and I wanted to welcome Donnie into the conversation. As we are reuniting folks, Donnie, and bringing folks back into the building, what kind of messaging are you working on and kinds of things that you're hoping to be able to convey to folks when they come back?
Okay, I think that's working. Thank you, Pamela. Well, we are excited. We've been working with a number of entities around campus, including admissions, alumni, of course, the bookstore, and all of our great facilities in the building, including dining. And really a message of belonging is something that we want to cultivate, a message of community, and reminding people that the building is at the heart of the campus and that it's all about them, that we really cater to them, whether it's Tamina and keeping the building clean and top-notch, or Benjamin and all the food options, and Jeff and all the food options, and of course the CSU Bookstore and Slice and campus activities and everything that we do. So everything is centered on our audience. It's centered on students, faculty, and staff, and we really want to convey that. So we are looking at about 20 different themes that are possibilities for messaging once we get back into the building. It will all center on community and belonging and feeling like you matter. So in the next few weeks, a number of you are going to hear options for those messages, and we're going to ask your opinion and see what feels best, what hits best, what makes you feel like you're a part of the building. And we'll roll that out in August.
Awesome. Thanks, Donnie. Want to welcome Amber Ramos here today as the Director of Campus Activities. Amber, can you share with us information that you're working with around events on campus for students, as well as other community-wide events that you all are working on and things you're thinking about?
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, there we are. Yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of things. I feel like I still have a few more questions than answers. I know Rogan and his team will be a really good resource to all of us in terms of when you want to have events in this building. But for me, I think a lot of what we're thinking about are still keeping things virtual, having multiple options, staying outside as much as possible. But that we are going to try to do as many events as we can. We've seen some, the emails from the provost coming out and saying, yeah, let's have campus activities, let's serve our students. And so we're going to do that to the best of our ability and work with all of our partners that we collaborate with in terms of RAM events, and then, you know, still trying to work with our friends over in orientation and transition programs from Palooza. And so I'll be reaching out to offices to see what folks feel comfortable with. And we'll try to put together, you know, the first event that's coming up for us is Ramapalooza. We'll try to put together as good of an event as possible, with the majority of the options being outdoors if we can. So trying to utilize our large spaces outside. Anything else specific you were thinking of?
No, we just need to have our fingers crossed for no rain for
Yeah.
Round Welcome. We put that request in with Rogan.
Yeah. Or get a lot of tents. So
Yeah. I see that Jen Johnson is here on the line. Jen, would you be willing to come in and chat a little bit about what's going on with Slice and the Rams Against Hunger Pantry? Maybe.
Can you all see me? Oh, there we are. Hooray. Yeah, so our staff will be having our regular office hours starting on August 1st. So we'll be open from 8 to 5 for walk-ins, support with volunteering, etc. Our pantry will maintain the summer hours through the rest of the summer, which is Wednesday and Thursday evenings from 4 to 7 and Friday mornings from 9 to noon. And then at some point in the fall, we'll be opening a new permanent pantry space over in the General Services building, which is kind of over by Mason Road. And I don't know the exact details on that. We're doing construction, so you never know what's going to happen there. So that's up in the air. But right now, our team is sort of planning things to be as nimble as possible. I think we're looking at a lot of different hybrid options so that we can accommodate lots of different ways of engaging folks. So that's us.
Awesome. And for those of you that haven't heard hot off the press, Jen will be the permanent director of Slice starting on Thursday. So congratulations, Jen. All right, let's kick it over to Linda Carpenter. Linda's been here all along, probably dealing with way more questions about how to work Teams and Zoom and all the things, electronic signatures. I know I had 1,000 questions. Linda, is there anything that you want to share with the group about what to expect as they venture back into their offices and try to make hybrid work as well?
Well, we've been working all along. A lot of the diversity offices have got new inventory and new furniture, and so we're working through all those offices. Actually, that started a couple months ago. And we just anticipate that remote work is here to stay. So it's going to be, whether it's hybrid or not. So each office is trying to figure out what their plan is, and we're just accommodating that plan as much as possible. So yeah, I will be on vacation this next week, but then I'll return. And we also have a new full-time staff person starting on the 7th, Tom Stuvey. He'll be supporting dining services and the bookstore mainly, but so that's exciting. A big help will be there. And so yeah, as things come up and you start coming back into the building and figuring out your offices and what that setup will be, just let us know, and we'll try to figure it out together. Other than that, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Linda. Well, Emily, if you could move the slide. This slide, many of you may have been keeping up on the COVID-19 site that's on CSU's website. New information. I think even since the last time I looked at it, they continue to add questions and answers to probably the most burning questions they're getting. So I wanted to share these 3 resources with you: a public health guide, flexible work arrangement resources, and facts regarding vaccines and remote hybrid work. We have Stephanie on the call today, and she is our a guru, all answers to all questions personnel wise. Stephanie, anything you want to share in regards to these resources or other sort of suggestions or advice that you have?
I don't really have a lot specifically to share. I'm happy to answer specific questions individually. Esther and I have returned to the office on a part-time basis, but we're still available regular hours remotely. These resources are good resources for all the questions you have. If you don't find an answer to a question, let me know and I will get that answer for you. But, you know, the HR is just emphasizing flexibility and, you know, to give people grace because things are going to look different than they ever have before. But that doesn't mean that people aren't, you know, available. So please let me know if you have questions or concerns. The teleworking policy, for those that are interested, has moved to executive leadership team for full approval. So President McConnell, and so we should hear about that soon. Once that's approved, and say you have come to an agreement with your supervisor that you're going to work on a part-time basis remotely, you're going to work maybe hybrid, part-time in the office, part-time remotely. That form will be available through dynamic forms, which is the same as supplemental pay. So it'll be routed for approvals. So once you have approval and once that comes out, I'll be sending that out for those that are interested.
Not seeing any. Oh, thank you, Em. The other one that I hadn't put on here, I intended to, was the last town hall that was offered by CSU. If you didn't get the chance to watch that, I would highly encourage that. There was a lot of good information that was on that COVID-19 page. And again, you can, we'll get that, that link and put it into the site for you. But any questions for Stephanie?
One more thing I'd like to add is that public health emergency leave will continue to be available for employees until the pandemic has been declared over by the governor. So if people are out for COVID reasons, vaccination, or symptoms, public health emergency leave will still be available for those people even after we return to full capacity. So if you have questions, let me know.
Now you're muted, Pamela.
Shoot, I really was. The last bullet on our screen here is about advice. For folks that have been here all along or folks that are meandering back into the office, does anyone have advice on how to get back into the sort of the vibrant and familiar experience? Words of wisdom.
I'll chime in. I guess a piece of advice for folks, if they've been in person or if they're coming back, to not be afraid to let folks know kind of where their comfort levels are. If you're going into somebody's office where maybe requirements are kind of reduced, or some people aren't wearing masks in their office, you know, put your mask on, or tell, you know, other people you're talking to that you're going to keep distancing, or just feel free to let people know where you're at. So, you know, nobody has to guess at it or feel uncomfortable being in and around other people here.
Thanks for that, Benjamin. I love Jen's suggestion of only wearing soft pants. She actually had to describe what this meant to Mike the other day. So, oh, that's so funny. Thanks, Nancy, though, for letting us know about the disinfectant wipes. That's great. Any other advice that folks have?
I'll chime in. Benjamin made me think that, we'll talk about a session. Stephanie Z from the Health Network is going to talk about COVID transitions and kind of approaching and re-entering. And for those of you who know me on the call, I'm a pretty strong extrovert and I'm having a hard time re-entering. And so I think just like giving yourself generosity of, if you don't want to say hi to every single person right out the gate, that's okay. I even found myself being like, I'm not ready to engage yet. And I think really, from a place of consent, knowing that consent is far beyond reaching the work of the Women and Gender Advocacy Center, really approaching with caution and as much respect for others, knowing that we've had so many different pandemic experiences. The spectrum has been really wide, right? People have been working every day and putting themselves on the front line for the positions that they have. And then there have been folks who have been primarily cloistered in whatever habitation they've been and may have still small infants at home or immunocompromised themselves or people that they love. So I think just really not making assumptions about who and where and why people are where they are, and approaching with consent and the highest level of safety at the beginning feels like one of the most respectful ways that we can approach our community. So I think and if you want to learn more or have more of a conversation, I think that's going to be a place to do it tomorrow at 9 o'clock with Stephanie Z. Hopefully that's helpful.
That's awesome, Emily. If you'll go to the next slide, a couple of pieces of, I don't know if it's advice, but considerations would be, my dear friend, colleague Mo always says, make the implicit explicit. And there's a lot of things that we don't know how to do exactly when it comes to reuniting and having so many complex components of what our building offers to campus. And so there may be days where things feel a bit clunky. And the best thing that we can do is talk about it, is to have the courage to give each other feedback and continuously share with folks like Rogan and Tamina and John and others, Mike, what's working. And what's not working. And folks like Amber and Jen, who are really face-to-face with students every day, or their staffs are, to hear from students what's working and what's not working, to be able to share that with all of our building leaders, to gather information on how we can create spaces to be able to ensure that that feedback is welcomed, and that it goes somewhere, something happens with it. And so we're really going to do our best to try to provide environments for that to be able to happen. And then we'll adjust. And I think you heard that from Tamina and others today, that we have a somewhat of a plan, and we may have to pivot. We may have to change based on what we're hearing from people or what the pandemic planning team has identified as a need to keep people safe. And so we are hopeful that that feedback will come in fast and furious and consistently for us to be able to respond. Any other questions or ideas, feedback that you're hearing from, I don't know, other colleagues across campus, other folks that work in different buildings where they're doing things that you're kind of curious if that could happen in the student center? Yeah, just really open this up.
Pamela, as we're leading into questions and as people are thinking about some of those, I wonder if in the vein of making the implicit explicit, if we could talk about a little bit of the structuring of the Lory Student Center executive office, right? I know that during the pandemic, there were some changes and shift and probably an email that went out about it, but I've been fielding some questions of like, okay, who's in charge of what and who do I talk to about what? And so could you just maybe take a couple minutes to address how some of those things have shifted with Robert's retirement and things like that? Not to put you on the spot too much, but Mike isn't here.
That's okay. Yeah, when you come and visit the LSC Executive Director's office, you will no longer hear that Texas cowboy laughter from Robert Peters. He has, it is true, officially retired. And so who you'll see up in the Executive Director's office is Mike, obviously. I think he's been here every day since the pandemic. And Jen Fisher and I are now serving as Associate Executive Directors. So instead of Robert's Texas laugh, you basically will just hear my office with Madonna music, as Rogan can attest. Kathy Krell has several students that are working here in the front office. We'll have Michael Marr back. I've seen him a few times. He's excited about getting back. So we'll have him and all of his personality and humor in the space. Christy, Tamina have been here pretty much all along. And so you'll see them in the executive director's office as well. The hope with this change, if you visit the Lory Student Center website under organizational charts, you can really start to like dig into the weeds of who's who, but essentially Mike took portions of Robert's job that were working specifically with businesses and business services in the building. And Jen Fisher took that whole chunk of work. And I have the great privilege of being able to work with Jen and Amber and Slice and campus activities, as well as Stephanie and Esther in the payroll, personnel, HR area, along with Emily and Michael and Rachel with our talent development. So we're building a team around how our human resources will be supported here in the building and serve as a resource, a continued resource, and a much more complex resource for our staffs. Yeah. Any other questions or things that folks are hearing out there that you'd like for us to address? I do know with Jessica or Rogan on the call, we do have a couple of conferences that are here this summer. How's that going? Are there more folks that are booking? Anything you want to share with the group?
Jessica, do you want to chime in, or do you want me to?
Yeah, hi everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a conference that is starting today and we'll be here until Friday. There are about 150 people, a high school group, National Hispanic Institute. They will be in and out of the building. They are using us for some meeting space, but they're also using Clark and some space over at Allison as well. And then we have Higher Things, which is going to be our largest conference for the summer, and that is 600 people. They're going to load in on July 5th, and then they'll be here that full week following the 4th of July holiday. We don't really have a lot of other conferences. We have a few day meetings and that sort of thing, but we are really starting to see things picking up at the beginning of that week before the semester starts for trainings and team retreats and a few offices that are doing like welcome back to campus events. So it's a slow ramp up, but I think we are definitely gonna be in for a surprise when August hits and we see a lot of people in the building again. Are there any questions I can answer on that?
I think that's good. Anything else that's a burning question, concern, consideration?
I was going to mention one other thing, Pamela. So unlike pretty much anyone else in town, we are still requiring masks on campus if you're inside buildings. That may change before August 1st or on August 1st. But for now, masks are still required. We do still have signage up throughout the building. And that mainly is for people up walking around. If someone is sitting down, we are not approaching them unless they're somehow egregiously causing problems. But if they're sitting down and eating, drinking, and honestly, even if they're not eating or drinking, if they're seated, we're not bugging them. But if someone's up and around in the building, they should be wearing masks. And we'll see if that changes soon. We have heard rumblings that might change before August. So we'll keep folks updated and update signage in the building as well if there are changes. Thank you.
I'm trying to get myself to be more comfortable with silence. I know there's folks that are thinking. Lindsay, now that you're back up on my screen, I'm curious if you might share with folks anything about Ramride. I know it's not specifically maybe what's on people's minds, but I do think it would be helpful for folks to know what to share with their students.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks for the opportunity. Hey y'all, Lindsay Mason, Director of Off-Campus Life. I use she, her pronouns. We are really excited to bring Ramride back. Ramride has been operating in a variety of capacities over the last 16 months, but we're really excited in particular to bring Night Ops back. So Ramride will be returning starting the first week of classes. We used to run Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, but at least to begin, we're only going to be operating Friday and Saturday nights. I anticipate that it will be our traditional hours, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. And we will also be bringing back the large fundraising opportunity for our student organization. So that $1,000 for 30 people, that's also coming back. We will continue to support students in a variety of other ways. We'll continue to give ride credits through Lyft for students that are experiencing some type of transportation insecurity and need help throughout the week. We are also exploring how we can support students nationwide during what some may consider heavy drinking holidays that Ramride would not be running. So for example, New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day, when most of our students are on spring break or leave town for spring break, that we would continue to provide the ride subsidies nationwide. So regardless of where a student is, they could use Ramride in that way. Ramride Food Ops will also continue to support students and faculty and staff with food security. Ramride Food Ops will not come back online initially. We are going to wait for the pantry to be more settled in its new location. So we're going to put a small pause on that program, but that will continue. That will continue at some point in the fall. So I'm really excited that Ramride is expanding beyond what we just know to be our traditional night ops. And I think it will take some effort to let students know about night ops. I have felt very fortunate in previous years that Ramride really spreads via word of mouth pretty effectively, and I haven't had to do a whole lot of marketing, but I think that will be different this coming year. So yeah, so Friday, Saturday, we're coming back. We'll do some nationwide stuff a few nights throughout the year if we're concerned about students being able to get home safely. still continue to offer lift credits, and still continue to support the Rams Against Hunger Food Pantry with what we call our food operations. Thanks, Pamela.
That's awesome, Lindsay. So creative, for sure.
Yeah, I'll just also, hopefully, or maybe not, but, some of those things are new, right? Since, Ramride Food Ops going along with the basic needs. And so just as another little plug, if you are feeling like, I'm not quite sure what's going on with basic needs at CSU, and a ton is going on with basic needs, coming today at 2:30 is a session about, I think it's at 2:30. I'm like, what time is the session? I think it's, yes, 2:30. The Basic Needs Committee that's been working really diligently and hard on the new pantry, on all of the services, will be giving an overview around that from 2:30 to 4. So, FYI.
Awesome. Well, I do want to continue to encourage folks to share ideas, share questions, give feedback. One of the things on the screen is around, I kind of liked this when I heard it on a podcast, which was not simply giving opinions, but sharing experiences that you're having. Something I've learned throughout the pandemic is there's so much complexity to the health and safety of folks that sometimes something that looks so obvious to me isn't necessarily, is far more complex in the decision making. And so being able to share experiences with folks versus just opinions has really helped, I think, with the crew in the Student Center to make really thoughtful decisions to keep the building open and to keep folks continuing to work and to feel safe. And so would just continue to invite you, if it's around an event or it's around operations, please reach out to either ideally the director in that area, but certainly can come anytime into the executive director's office to share information, share ideas or feedback that you have, and we'll make sure that that information gets shared with the appropriate folks. And if you're anything like I am, I generally think of all my questions after the session has ended. So feel free to email and let me know if there's things that I can follow up on or resources that we can provide. I should have mentioned, and I apologize, Nick Epley is here on the call, and he's done a fantastic job keeping as much up-to-date information about not only COVID and protocols in the Student Center, but what's open in the Student Center, when it's open, what to expect. He's been kind of working night and day to keep up with all of us. And so want to thank Nick and want to give him a chance to say anything if he wants to about information that may or may not be changing on the website for folks to look out for.
There we go. Had to get the right monitor, so I'm looking at everybody. Nothing much to report, just an ask for as those things change. We were just on a meeting with Jeff and his crew yesterday, and there's some updates on hours and things. So just a reminder that as anything does change, let me know. We'll keep that COVID page live, certainly for the next foreseeable future, and then work to kind of transition web stuff as we go. So yeah, if anybody has questions about how we're doing that, again, that kind of main COVID information page is linked directly from the homepage, and we'll keep that up for quite a while. But if anybody has questions, let me know.
Awesome. You're the guy that would know the answer, I think. All right.
Well, I'll just share that I popped in an optional attendance link. A reason you don't need to fill it out, but if you want to, it will also have an opportunity to submit any questions you didn't feel got answered in the session. We will share out this recording on the SHAPE YouTube page, again, for as long as the information is still relevant. And if you have folks who do not work in the Lory Student Center and want access to this information, please direct them there or to any of the folks on this call who can answer questions. I'm realizing that a lot of this information is going to be what we want our CSU full community to know in terms of the events and the happenings. And we want to make sure that we are being true to our community and sharing access and changes and information with you all as we're going. So we'll stick around for a while, but folks are welcome to jump and sign off. Happy last couple days of Pride Month. And again, welcome to Dr. Ashley Grice, our new Director of Pride. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. And Pamela, any last words from you?
No, thanks all for coming. And I look forward to continuing to see many of you in the building, but also seeing folks I haven't seen in a while. So thanks so much for investing time and coming this morning.